Welcome to my torture chamber. I mean my cosplay chamber, my cosplay room. Yeah, I haven't done this in a while, so yeah, did you miss me, guys? I'm back with another tutorial, and I'm going to be just styling the wig for Ganyu this time. So these are all the tools I'm going to use, and I hope you like it. Let's go! I know, I've been away for a long time and you were missing my tutorials, but finally I am back, and this time I want to show you how I style this wig, which, as you see, it was supposed to be a Ganyu wig, but as usual they come without any styling, and even if it's okay, I think I can do a little bit of a better job with it and make it look more interesting. So what I'm gonna be doing is I'm gonna be shortening a few layers, and I'm going to be using a lot of hairspray to make this look like a proper Ganyu wig. I am going to be using a styrofoam head, and first of all, I'm going to be marking where my forehead and my eyebrows are, because this doesn't look like my face at all. Promise, it doesn't. So once you have that, you can place your wig, and to make sure it doesn't move, you want to put a few pins on top and on the sides, and make sure your wig is stretched all over the styrofoam head. And yes, I'm using a very cheap stand for the wig, and it's very uncomfortable to move it, but once it's set, it's okay. So here we go. These heads are slightly smaller than my real head, even if it's quite small, so I'm just going to stuff the bottom as well, so I have a better idea of how this is gonna look on my head. Believe it or not, your head is not completely round, so placing that on the back is going to help look more like the shape of your actual head. I am going to place a few more pins on the sides and at the back to make sure my wig doesn't move during the whole process. Just use as many as you need and you will be able to remove them later. It is time to comb your hair. Just make sure there's no big tangles on it and make it as smooth as possible. You can use a white toothbrush for this. To make it easier for yourself, you wanna be parting your wig in the different parts you are gonna need for this wig. In this case, I'm going to have some strands going at the front for the curls, and then there's the long part at the back for the ponytail, and I will also be doing the same with the fringe later on. For this, you can use any clips or bobby pins or whatever you have at hand. And once again, make sure all this is tangle free, because it's gonna help you later on when you're doing the different parts. I can't really curl the front part in one go, so what I'm going to be doing is just divide it into smaller sections so I can work with them. First, I'm going to use my straighteners to make this straight again, to make sure everything has a fresh start. Once my hair is hot, I will be able to backcomb the hair to create a little bit of a mesh, and this is what's gonna make it's gonna make it puffier and it's gonna give it more volume. Just be careful when you do that, because it's pretty much something that you can't undo. Once your hair is tangled like this, you can go ahead and brush it again slightly, just to make sure there is no big lumps of hair, and you will notice that it still has a lot of volume, which is what we are looking for. I actually did this with all the hair, and finally, to make sure it still looked quite straight, I went and used my straightener again to make sure it all looked pretty decent. You can see that this side is much puffier than the other side, in which I haven't applied any of this technique yet. I tried using curlers to do this part, but unfortunately the ones I had velcro on them, and that's bad news for your wig. They all got tangled and it was impossible to get them off without destroying the style. So I decided to just try to do it with the curly part of my curling iron but without the heat directly, just to demonstrate that you can actually do this with a hairdryer if you don't have a curling iron in your house. You want to keep it as straight as possible, and starting from the bottom of your hair, start curling upwards in the same direction to make sure all the curls go the same way. Then you have to apply a little bit of hairspray, and then you can apply heat with a hair dryer. Just a note on the hairspray, try to find the strongest you can find. I usually use Got to Be Glued because it's the one that I find holds my wigs in place better than any other. It is very important to wait a few seconds before you release the curls, because if you release them while they are still hot, what's going to happen is that they are just going to untangle as they go. So the best thing to do is just keep them for a few seconds, even hold them on your hand for a bit, and then let go in a minute. I did this a few more times, and at the end I put all the curls together using only my hands. If you brush it now, you are gonna lose the effect and it will just become frizzy, which is something we do not want. Once everything is set, remember to add some more hairspray to make sure it doesn't move. And here is how the curls look so far. It took a few tries, but don't worry because you can always redo any curls that don't work. For the back, I wanted much bigger curls, so I decided to use one of these cones that I had from my sewing machine to use them as something bigger. It did work to a degree, however, when I tried to put them together, it didn't work and I kind of destroyed the whole process, so I had to start all over again. And I decided to go back to my curling iron, and I can tell you, it was so much quicker that I wish I had done this from the beginning, because it took me hours to do this with this cone. And even if it was the shape, or rather the actual width of curls that I wanted, it was not worth the time I spent trying to get them in place. Once again, remember that the key element to get this style is the heat. If your hair is hot enough, it will keep the shape, so you want to make sure it's very hot, wait a few seconds, hold them in place until it's not hot anymore, and eventually let go. But not before you apply a lot of hairspray. By the way, these are my big curls, and this is how I destroyed it. I just went ahead and tried to comb it, and as I said before, combing this wig, which is curly, is not a good idea, and basically it was all gone once I finished just doing this. Yeah, very silly, I know, don't judge me. So here I am, again back to the start, but this time I'm just using my curling iron because it's so much easier to use it. So make sure first you apply heat to the whole thing, and then you start turning from the bottom, making sure your hair is as spread as possible, because that's gonna help it get as much heat as possible. And once it's very tight, you pull slightly and just start rolling it upwards. Wait for a few seconds, take it off the curling iron, and once it's cold again, you have your curls done. Voila! Notice that I only curl the bottom half of my ponytail to make it a bit more natural, and then at the end I tried to put all these curls together just by twisting them slightly on my hands, but trying not to undo them very much while I was doing it. The least you handle, the best. Finally, it's time to do the front of your wig. first thing that I did is curl upwards this little auge that goes on the top of your wigs. It's very anime-like, and I did back comb as I did at the beginning first, and I applied some heat to give it the shape that I wanted. Using an up and down motion with my small scissors, I also made it a bit shorter because it was very long, and that's one of the reasons why I didn't want to stay up. Then I combed it again, applied more heat and a lot of hairspray. Once more, for the fringe of the wig, I'm using my iron and I'm applying heat and back combing my hair. Again, this is to create some volume on the wig, and even if it's tangled right now, you can just comb the hair on top and make it look nice again. Once the hair is looking messy like that, you can just use your white teeth comb and just slightly put it forwards again, just to make sure it doesn't look too tangled at the top. The bottom doesn't matter, but the top needs to look as neat as possible. Ganyu has somehow a parted fringe style, a little bit to the side. I don't know really how to describe it, but I'm going to try to do that with my wig. This one doesn't have a lot of hair at the fringe, so it was a little bit difficult to work with it, but I managed to do as well as I could with what I had. Once again, I'm just gonna put my hair together, apply some hairspray and some heat, and just put it on the place that I want. There is also another strand of hair that seems to be on top of the fringe, so I just grabbed a little bit of hair and just put it wherever I wanted to, just try to make it look like the picture. I will be using more heat and more hairspray and a little bit of back combing. And of course, if you find it is too long, you can just use this up and down motion to cut with your scissors and making sure it looks natural when you cut it. I carried on just trying to place the bangs where I thought looked more similar and applying a little bit of heat and hairspray each time. And also, whenever I thought they were a bit too long, I just use my scissors, again pointing upwards, and just make those a little bit shorter. You can also use some hairstyling gel to help with those rebel tips. So once again, I'm going to be applying heat, then I'm going to back comb everything to make it puffy, and then I'm just going to give it the shape that I want and apply a lot of hairspray to keep it in place. And don't forget that you can shorten your hair with that motion once again if you find it is too long. It actually took me all day to finish this wig, so just be patient, and I promise with time it gets much faster, but at the beginning you will just want to regret everything and just want to change your life as a cosplayer, or maybe just commission it. But if you keep going, it's totally worth it, and here's the result. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Wig styling is definitely the part I struggle with the most, and I'm just gonna keep trying and see if I can improve my techniques. I would like to tell you that next week I'm just going to be finally recording the showcase for Ganyu, but the weather has been quite crazy here in the UK and it just won't stop raining, so I can't say it's gonna be next week, but definitely very soon, so just keep tuned. If I don't manage to take pictures for these, I will be starting a new project next week, and I am going to be showing you all the process as always. Remember that you can be updated with everything on my Instagram, and if you want to be the first to get all the patterns and tutorials, you can go to my Patreon, which is a way to support me and get all those patterns much cheaper before anyone else. But don't worry if you can't, because just those thumbs up and likes and comments on this video just make my day and are a great way of helping your favorite creators for free. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!